heard that you were meaning to get in touch with me, but then I heard you were dead. And I also heard that you were a king and various other things. But the fact is, this is what people fear. Now I got the information that I need, and now I have to break your neck. It's just the way it is. I'm just a messenger.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my new Marvel Phase 4 video. You probably heard the news in the past week. Marvel has plans to bring a version of Thanos back in future movies, so we'll break it down. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs. It's not quite what you would expect, but Josh Brolin did say many times he would love to come back for more Thanos after Avengers Endgame, so I'll explain what this means and the projects that they're talking about bringing him back for. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We'll do a new Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and let me know where you want to see Thanos come back in future movies. So just starting with number 5, recently you probably saw the report about Thanos coming back. Most people assume that means he's coming back to life, but that's not exactly what's happening. It's not a brand new idea either. Right after Avengers Endgame, the Russos and the writers of Infinity War and Endgame said that they wouldn't bring these versions of Thanos back to life, the ones that died during Endgame. Remember, there were 2 versions of Thanos that the Avengers killed. There was the original version of Thanos after he snapped half the universe with the Infinity Gauntlet on his new garden planet. Then he atomized the Infinity Stones to prevent anyone from using them again, and then Thor went for the head, and that was the end of that version of Thanos. Then the second version of Thanos was the one from 2014 that time traveled into the future to this battlefield. Iron Man snapped him away along with his army from 2014 using the Nano Infinity Gauntlet.
And I am Iron Man.
So now you're probably starting to understand the logic of how Thanos is actually coming back in a movie eventually. It'll be a Thanos from the past, before Infinity War and Endgame. Doing movies set in the past, not a brand new idea. That's exactly what they're doing with the Black Widow movie. Black Widow before she died in Avengers Endgame. So number 4, the first project being talked about at Marvel is bringing him back during the Eternals movies as a younger version of Thanos before he got super thick and started his quest to balance the universe. And it wouldn't be the first Eternals movie, he's not going to show up during that, but during the sequels. This is what teenage Thanos looks like on the planet Titan with his family. They created this when they were developing Infinity War for some scenes that never saw the light of day. The reason they'd use him in an Eternals movie sequel is because Thanos is an Eternal. Technically he's a deviant, but they're almost the same thing. Deviants are just what they call the Eternals, who are born with genetic abnormalities that make them look different. Sometimes they look like monsters, sometimes it's just as simple as Thanos having different color skin than the rest of his biological family. This is what his family looks like in the comics. The concept art that they created for Avengers Infinity War, when they were constructing the portions of the movie on Titan for the big Titan battle, the writer said that they wrote a whole bunch of extra backstory as part of Thanos' flashback scene with the Reality Stone. So when he's standing here telling Doctor Strange about what happened to Titan and how his quest to balance the universe quote-unquote started, in the theatrical cut he just waves his hand and they show you some backgrounds of pre-destruction Titan. Based on what the writer said in the concept art, in the longer version of this, it sounded like they would have just shown you young Thanos scenes with his whole family in a couple of flashback scenes while the old Thanos is narrating. So number 3, Thanos' father's name is Alars, as Red Skull told us on Vormir. He was actually a full-blown Eternal born on planet Earth. So technically, Thanos actually shares a lot of genetic similarities with all the Avengers. Let that sink in for a minute. Eternals are basically just humans that have been genetically altered by the Celestials, and most of humanity just descends from all those original Eternals. They don't really address that during Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, but that's because they were doing the Eternals movies, so they'll get into a lot of that backstory when we see that movie. Thanos' father eventually left Earth after a couple civil wars with the Eternals and the Deviants, and eventually helped colonize the planet Titan, started a family with Thanos' mother, then a little while later, Thanos was born with the genetic abnormality marking him as a deviant. The Thanos comic book gets into the circumstances of his birth way more, the bad omens, his mother being driven kind of mad, and they adhere a little more closely to his previous comic book canon with the cosmic entity Death and his relationship. They didn't really do that with the MCU movies, so I'm not expecting a ton of that in the movies though. In the Eternals sequels, the idea would be that they just show some sort of young Thanos being born and the Eternals colonizing Titan to tie everything back to the Infinity Saga of movies, which Marvel movies love to do. Big payoffs years later that help connect the new movies to the older movies. There's also a whole history of young Thanos flying around the galaxy with his crew before he knew about the Infinity Stones, balancing the planets one by one. We got a little bit of that during Infinity War. This is Thanos before he acquired any of the Infinity Stones when he took Gamora's planet.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
And after Endgame, I did get a lot of questions about the Infinity Stones and Thanos. If he destroyed the Infinity Stones in present day, then how does time continue to operate in the normal way? Because of that whole explainer that the Ancient One gave to the Hulk, the Infinity Stones create the normal flow of time as we experience it. The way the writers of the movie and the Russos explain it is that the stones themselves still exist in atomized form, so they're still within the universe. It's just the form that they exist in now is unusable by other people. Number 2, the other big project that they're talking about bringing Thanos back for is to set up a Nova movie origin story for Richard Rider Nova. There was an entire deleted subplot from Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame featuring an origin story and a story arc for the Nova character. Originally, the writers said what happened is that during Infinity War, the movie actually opened with a huge action scene of Thanos destroying Xandar and the Nova Corps using the Power Stone. Richard Rider was going to be the sole survivor, and that was going to be the beginning of his origin story as the Nova character from the comics. They haven't really explained the Nova Force in the movies yet, the cosmic Nova energy, but that's the power that the Nova Corps wields. They use it to power all their weapons in their never-ending wars with the Kree and the Skrulls. But after the Nova Corps was destroyed by Thanos on Xandar, all of the power goes to Richard Rider and he gets his cosmic level power up. And it was going to be a similar revenge arc like Thor during Infinity War when he goes to get Stormbreaker. Nova himself wouldn't have had a ton of scenes during Infinity War after that, but he would have come back at the end of Avengers Endgame during the big final battle. So when you see everyone portaling in here, he would have come flying in during the 10th inning and kicked a bunch of ass. Remember the joke that the Russos had about the deleted scene, quote-unquote, from Avengers Endgame with Nova?
Macho Man, Russo brothers, how do you guys not have any Nova Corps member in a fight against Thanos? Love the movie, but just boggles my mind. Didn't even have to be Richard Rider. I look closely at that scene again, and you will see.
There are thousands of people.
Yeah, you will see Richard Rider in the background of a shot. Easter egg.
Even though that clip is them mostly joking because there is no Nova in the theatrical cut of Avengers Endgame, no matter how much you zoom and enhance, you won't find him there. The whole idea is that there was a version of the movie during the development process where Nova was in this scene. So that's mostly the Russos just joking about that. Presumably, after this version of the movie where he did show up, he would have just gone on to another space-based movie in the future, wherever Marvel wanted to use him next. Kevin Feige has said in the past that they've discussed doing a Nova movie in more space-based movies, but there's no official date on that yet. Part of the reason for that Spider-Man Far From Home post-credits scene, though, with Nick Fury, is to let you know that the Avengers-level threats will be coming from outer space soon. So they're just confirming more space-based movies in Marvel Phase 4, Marvel Phase 5, and beyond that. Then number 1, the other movies and stories I'd love to see them bring Thanos back for are actually a supernatural story now that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is getting super crazy with alternate realities and darker, weirder characters are coming, like Moon Knight, Blade, Ghost Rider, Mephisto. I'd love to see them bring a version of Thanos back as dead Thanos in the MCU version of Hell, just being tormented by Mephisto in chains. Not a really big scene, just him in the background being tormented because he's still dead. Or they do a really weird Marvel What If episode featuring the cosmic version of Ghost Rider and a subplot from the more recent comics with tiny baby Thanos. If you haven't read any of those recent comics, Donny Cates' Cosmic Ghost Rider is probably one of my new favorite versions of the character. He's a distant future version of the Frank Castle Punisher who's bonded with the spirit of vengeance. Remember the scene from Avengers Endgame where War Machine is like, why don't we just time travel into the past and kill tiny baby Thanos? Wouldn't that solve all our problems? Well, in this version of the Ghost Rider story, Frank Castle Ghost Rider actually tries to do that. As you would expect, it goes terribly, and he can't bring himself to kill a child. Frank Castle, Cosmic Ghost Rider, decides he's going to raise Thanos to be good instead of being evil, but it goes so wrong because he's such a terrible father that he winds up raising Thanos to accidentally take the mantle of the Punisher, and he becomes Punisher Thanos, an even worse version of Thanos than they had before. So that's a little bit more of a comedic WTF spin, which is why I say it'd probably work better as an animated Marvel What If episode. But let me know in the comments, what version of Thanos do you want to see come back in a new movie? Congratulations, Last Panda, you're the giveaway winner from my last big Marvel video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. Everyone, click here for my brand new Venom 2, Spider-Man 3, and Morbius video, and click here to learn all about the new Batman TV show that HBO is going to be doing soon. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.